Have you ever wondered about the scariest holiday in the world? Welcome to Amanda Ruins Everything, the show where we tackle misconceptions about the topics you never knew you wanted to know about. This week, Halloween. Before I get into all the ghouls and gore that make up this famous October festival, I want us to get one thing straight. Halloween is not an original American holiday. It gets its roots from the Celtic tradition Samhain, or Summer's End, where men dressed in masks to impersonate spirits, thus ensuring protection from evil for the rest of the year. Many sectors of people still celebrate this ancient version of the festival today, including witches, Wiccans, Druids, and other pagans. For these citizens, the fire festival sparks the beginning of a spiritual new year and a cleansing of the spirit. While some choose to celebrate on the usual day, October 21st, others prefer the autumnal midpoint on November 6th. It now goes by other names as well, including Calan Gaeaf, Trínusn Samhain, and the Feast of Mongfiend. Another ancient ancestor to Halloween is the triad of Roman festivals known as the Parentalia, Feralia, and the Carestia. The Parentalia lasted from the 13th through the 21st of February, and consisted of patrons staying home to give up offerings to the Daemonibus, or spirits of the dead. The Vestal Virgins would officiate a public ritual during the ceremony as well, to ensure the strengthening of ties between the living and the dead. The final day of the Parentalia was known as the Feralia. During it, private ceremonies were held in place of public ones for more personal ties. Finally, the Carestia occurred on the day following the Parentalia, the 22nd. It celebrated the value of the living family as opposed to those that were dead. The Catholic faith has another pair of days that also compare to Halloween. These are All Saints' Day and All Souls' Day, which takes place on November 1st and 2nd, respectively. On All Saints' Day, Catholics pray in remembrance of those in heaven, while All Souls' Day is reserved for those who have died. These days also have inspirations rooted in other cultures, like the Dia de los Muertos of the Spanish and the Ghost Festival of the Chinese. Our next segment covers the age-old tradition of trick-or-treating. Did you know that the practice was originally invented as a way to receive prayer? The actual practice originated in the Middle Ages, though it was known then as souling because the children, or soulers, would go door to door and ask for prayers for their dead loved ones. The ideas behind trick-or-treating didn't mature in the U.S. until much later. We have had trick-or-treating ever since, with the exception of the period during World War II when trick-or-treating rates were low due to the sugar shortage. The actual term was invented in 1927 and was first written in an edition of the Alberta Canada Herald. For one more interesting fact, a study in 2006 found that more than half the population of Great Britain turns off their lights and pretends not to be home during the season. Perhaps the British just don't like the holiday that much. Lastly, we are going to explore a classic Halloween tradition that graces porches all throughout October. Jack-o'-lanterns have a very unique history of their own. It all culminates in the story of Stingy Jack. This is a tale from Irish history transcribed by the people of PumpkinNook.com. Stingy Jack was a miserable old drunk who took pleasure in playing tricks on just about everyone: family, friends, his mother, and even the devil himself. One day he tricked the devil into climbing up an apple tree. After the devil climbed up the tree, Stingy Jack hurriedly placed crosses around the trunk of the tree. Unable to touch a cross, the devil was stuck in the tree. Stingy Jack made the devil promise him not to take his soul when he died. Once the devil promised not to take his soul, Stingy Jack removed the crosses, and the devil climbed down out of the apple tree. Many years later, Jack died. He went to the pearly gates of heaven and was told by St. Peter that he was mean and cruel, and had led a miserable, worthless life on earth. Stingy Jack was not allowed to enter heaven. He then went down to the hell and the devil. The devil kept his promise and would not allow him to enter hell. Now Jack was scared. He had nowhere to go but to wander about forever in the dark netherworld between heaven and hell. He asked the devil how he could leave, as there was no light. The devil tossed him an ember from the flames of hell to help Stingy Jack light his way. Jack had a turnip with him. It was one of his favorite foods, and he always carried one with him. Jack hollowed out the turnip and placed the ember the devil had given him inside the turnip. From that day onward, Stingy Jack roamed the earth without a resting place, lighting his way as he went with his jack-o'-lantern. Based on this legend, the Irish began making jack-o'-lanterns out of turnips, potatoes, gourds, and beets. The transition to the pumpkin began in the 1800s when the Irish immigrated to America and found a much bigger vehicle for their carvings. Now we have lots of silly faces all across America. This concludes my presentation of Amanda Ruins Halloween. The next time you think about our scariest holiday, remember that things aren't always what they seem, and that history can be stranger than fiction. See you next time, and happy Halloween.